there are two camps. One camp thinks that America, the United States, is headed for a hyperinflationary event like Zimbabwe and the Weimar Republic, and therefore you just have to pile into gold and silver and watch it skyrocket. Another camp thinks that we're going to be like the British Empire, right, which has devalued its currency over the last 2,000 years, and they're still standing and seem relatively okay. Where do you think America is headed?
America is now the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. We have troops in over 100 countries. There are people who would say that we're overextended financially, economically, militarily, and it looks like they might be right. So yes, no, I worry. It's not a good time to be young in America, because what the young people are going to inherit is mind-boggling. And the symptoms, the money printing, the debt, etc., have always led to the kind of problems you're talking about. I don't think it'll happen in 2001 or 2021 or even 2022, but it's on the way.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, because just thinking about what the investment implications are of this kind of event happening, because like Great Britain, if you had bought their stock market during World War II, you would have made an absolute fortune, because I think it just went straight up from that. So it's like, how bad will it get, essentially, in America, if devaluing the currency seems to be everyone's go-to move?
If you buy just about any country in the middle of a war, it goes straight up. Even if you bought Japan, if you were careful, you still came out making a lot of money, or Germany, even though both countries were destroyed. One of the things I have learned is if you buy in a catastrophe, you often make a lot of money. So I'm not advocating that we have a war so that we can all buy in wartime or anything. But your point is good. Yes, Britain was great. But the people who stayed in Britain didn't have a great life. Their standard of living compared to what it was before, it was not the same country. It's not the same world.
Printing money never, endlessly will lead you to that kind of situation where your standard of living goes down. And that's a great education, because just looking at the history, I see the British stock market go up, but you're saying there was terrible standard of living, there were problems with hyperinflation. And I do compare us to the British Empire, because they had the reserve currency once and they lost it. So that's really good to know. Are we in the kind of period where the Federal Reserve just props up the stock market, and in local currency, it just goes up forever, and there's never really a big kind of correction? What are your thoughts?
Basically, yes. My experience and my observation is that all of this money printing it has to go somewhere. It takes a long time to build a bridge or a factory, but it's very easy to go online and you buy as much of anything as you want. And that's what's happening. Everybody has a lot of money in their pocket. There is a lot of money around, and it's going into financial assets. Will that last forever? It never has, but you say maybe it will. Maybe it will this time.
Is the inflation due to supply chain disruption in the United States transitory, and will it just go away as soon as the big deflationary pressures like automation, globalization, immigration, all that keeping labor costs down, will the inflationary trends kind of supersede this potentially transitory inflation?
Well, Washington says that this is transitory. And, if you believe the head of the central bank and the secretary of the treasury, then you don't have to worry. Everything is going to be great. Look out the window. Everything is going to be fantastic. No worries, no worries, no worries. I happen to be of a different view. First of all, the U.S. stock market has gone up, 10, 12 years without a serious problem, other than some short, gigantic disruptions, but nothing serious. That's never happened in American history. And maybe, Elliot, maybe it is different this time. Janet Yellen says, don't worry, we have solved the problems. We won't have problems, economic problems again. She's got degrees from 2 Ivy League universities, so maybe she knows what she's talking about. I happen to know she's wrong. We will have problems again, and when they come, it's going to be horrible. 2008, we had a problem because of too much debt. Elliot, since 2008, the debt everywhere has skyrocketed by gigantic amounts. So it would be my view that the next time we have a problem, it's going to be the worst in my lifetime, given that the debt is so, that may sound like some kind of wild statement, but look out the window. The debt is there. The debt goes higher every day. I know what it caused in 2008. It's got to be worse next time around. But Mrs. Yellen says, no, don't worry. It's not going to happen again. And Mr. Powell says the same thing.
Right. So are you seeing kind of the big obligations with Social Security and just, the big off balance sheet obligations for all the kind of the retired baby boomers as being like the equivalent of wartime reparations that we have to pay that are impossible to pay? Is that kind of what you see, kind of like these big obligations kind of tipping us over the edge and people losing confidence in the dollar?
Social Security will be paid. So the question is that kind of default will I cannot see that happening in the US. However, the value of the money is certainly going to continue to decline. As I said, the British pound went down 80% against the value of the US dollar, which replaced it as the world's reserve currency. I'm sure that the value of the US dollar is going to continue to decline. Everybody watching this knows that the dollar is not what it used to be.
So there has to be some sort of way that young Americans can protect themselves, right? There has to be some way of just protecting wealth and maybe even doing well in a hyperinflationary environment or even an inflationary environment. And would that be precious metals?
I own silver and gold. I plan to buy more sometime in the future. My timing is never very good, but I will definitely buy more of both, because before this is over, both are going to skyrocket. Mrs. Yellen and Mr. Powell say, no, don't worry about, leave gold and silver alone. You don't need it. That's antique. That's archaic. Well, I'm an old peasant, Elliot, and I know all of us old peasants know when things go wrong, we want to have a little silver over in the closet. We want to have a little gold under the bed, because we know that when things collapse, gold and silver will help you. Won't take care of it, will help you. So I am buying both, and I will buy more. I'm also buying commodity indexes, because by definition, if commodities go higher, that's inflation. If the price of rice goes up, that's inflation. So I own rice. I own agricultural commodities. I own all commodities through an index, because by definition, if they're going to drive up prices, those will benefit.